Julia was like, "What? Who is this? What are you talking about?" She didn't see any of the messages that you and I had. She just saw your last
Yeah.
one, which she thought was really kind of creepy, and she
Oh,
was like,
okay.
"Why is he asking for our Gmail addresses?"
I assumed that's the only one I saw, and I thought that it was spam, and I was like, oh, this
All right.
obviously has like a virus,
Yeah, for
so.
Yeah.
some reason, I don't know if it was because me and you were talking, and like, I don't know, it was weird that she didn't see any of the other ones,
All right.
like the
Yeah.
important ones.
Yeah. I didn't know
That's
how.
so funny.
Yeah. I didn't know how Google Plus works. You know, whether I needed your email addresses or stuff. But I think yeah, like I was able to kind of just search you on, you know, with your names and
Yeah.
stuff, and yeah, it's kind of easy to
Yeah.
track you both
Yeah,
down.
Julia, she was like, how do you spell his name? Is it just with one L? There's a lot of Philip Mitchells. And I said, yeah, but he's the good-looking one.
uh, Thank you.
All right, so I thought we would just kind of talk a little bit about the movie in general, and then I want to talk about your podcast and the the film you're doing,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and then evidently we have like a ton of questions
Okay.
that we want to get through too.
Yeah. Cool. No worries.
So,
And what is the name of your podcast again?
Yeah, so the name of the podcast is called Trial by Stone. So it's just a podcast that is pretty much centric to the Dark Crystal, and it's a podcast that I started back last year around August. I kind of started off as just doing it for fun, but also because I mean I listen to a lot of podcasts and really enjoy listening to them. I think one of my favorites would be Rebel Force Radio. Have you ever heard of like what kind of podcasts do you listen to? Like,
I listen to too many. What do you listen to, Julia?
I'm the opposite. I don't listen to that many. I listen to Welcome to Night Vale, and that's about it.
That's not even like a podcast. That's like a
I
radio show.
know, I know. I used to listen to a lot more. I don't anymore. I have a lot that people have recommended to me that I should probably start.
Yeah.
There was one that Anthony recommended that he said that I'd really like,
What
so
was
but I
that?
don't remember. I don't remember the name of it.
Anthony, I mean Anthony Strand of Tough
Yeah.
Breaks. I listen to Nerdist. I listen to Radio Free Burrito, which is Will Wheaton's podcast that he's done every like 6 months to a year. Um,
yeah,
I listen to Literary Disco,
yeah,
Mental Illness Happy Hour. I mean, I listen to too many.
yeah. Same with myself. Like, yeah, with Rebel Force Radio, which is a Star Wars podcast, and several others from that network as well. Yeah, they just do really good quality shows, and just for a while, I've sort of been thinking about doing a podcast myself, and just trying to think of what I would like to do about, and then I sort of been thinking about the Dark Crystal, for a year or two and whatnot, and I just thought, oh, well, actually, just see if there was any podcasts about the Dark Crystal. So I did a search on the iTunes, and I saw quite a few episodes did talk about the film, but not like an actual podcast about it. And from that, yeah, I just decided to just take on the challenge. It's just at the moment it's just sort of just doing it for fun essentially. So but I mean it's been great. It's been great being able to interview fans from who have the passion for the Dark Crystal, as well as some of the creative team behind the Dark Crystal. I've had the opportunity to interview Timothy Clark, Toby Philpott, author J.M. Lee, who's currently working on the upcoming Dark Crystal prequel novel. That's due to be
Oh, nice.
and that's due to be out, I think, next year. Yeah, and it's just been good fun.
Awesome. Yeah, 'cause like that's the thing about podcasts. You have to be ready to talk about that, for the rest of the time that you want to do a podcast. And that's what me and Julie have been trying to do, but we just keep getting, schedule conflicts and all that stuff. We're trying to cobble together guests, and we have like a list of people that we know we can kind of get now.
Mm.
So we're still kind of working on that and everything. Do you do it just by yourself?
Yeah, for now, like I do it all by myself. Yeah, I mean that's always a hard thing, trying to schedule things to try and work out a day and time for us to be able to chat, to record the shows. Because I'm from Melbourne in Australia, it's because of the time zones, it can be a bit hard to try and work out what can time zone wise I mean, it's like for us, like, just happen to work because I'm not working. I don't have work on today. So it all just kind of worked out. Just sort of like for us to sort of become the Great Conjunction of time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if I don't know if you've listened to our podcast before, but the first half of it, well, for the first like year when we were knocking it around, and then when we actually did it, Julia was in New Zealand the whole time. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I
yeah,
was bumming around New Zealand, so
we definitely
I'm
know what you mean.
well acquainted with that time zone.
Yeah, right now we're only like 4 hours apart, but
Yeah.
before it was a
Eh,
little, it was a
three,
little
but
different.
yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
So how did you decide to start doing like a Dark Crystal podcast? Is that just like been one of your favorite films for a long time? Is there a particular thing about it that stands out to you that made you want to do a podcast about it?
Um. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I think like I just really enjoy the film, how it stands out even after more than 30 years. Just how visually it's amazing, and as well as just how, I guess, how deep the mythology is to the Dark Crystal. That, I mean, there are things that we only see on film and stuff, but there's a lot that sort of might that's more interesting about, or what happened behind the scenes, or, how did this all sort of came about. Um, yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Kinda, yeah. I'd agree that there is a lot uh, there's a lot of depth in the world of the Dark Crystal, which unfortunately I don't think the film touches on it as much as I'd really like to personally, but there is a lot to it, and I didn't know that they were like making a prequel novel, and that actually really excites me a lot. I'm now looking forward to that.
Yeah,
now
me
was
too.
was
Yeah,
that part of the contest that Cheryl Henson mentioned? Was that writing contest? Was
yeah.
that for the prequel or was that for something
Yeah, that
else?
that is for the prequel novel.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not too sure exactly where in the timeline it sits, but it definitely sits. Yeah, definitely before the films. Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, like, I guess like I was, yeah, just trying to think, of with this whole podcast starting. I think it was the launch of the darkcrystal.com website, that came out a year and so ago. Um, and when I had several contests and stuff, and yeah, and just I don't know if you've ever seen their website, but they got such a big encyclopedia when it comes to like characters, and get to know the mystics and the Skeksis and the character names, and their backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. And I just find it, yeah, just found it very fascinating, and just thought it was worth. It would be cool to do a podcast all about it, and maybe potentially do episodes where we discuss about some of these stories that have that have been out, like creation myths and legends of the Dark Crystal as well. So that's something that I just have planned in the works, that I'll hopefully try and yeah, make it happen.
That's awesome. I haven't read any of the books.
I've
Like
read
I know,
the
yeah, I know Julia's read
yeah.
the novelization, and I have both versions, like the original paperback and then the new hardback, and I've read neither of them
Yeah.
yet. And then
um,
I know
yeah.
they did the manga too, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just haven't been able to get my hands on that.
yeah. I think the manga came first. The Legends of the Dark Crystal. Well, actually, really, the novelization came first. But then they did do a reprint for it recently, last year, and I've bought that, and I haven't had a chance to like read it all. But I have read Creation Myths, which is sort of like, it's pretty much almost like the Bible of the Dark Crystal. You really get to go through what happened throughout, almost, that sort of covers around the 3,000 years of Thra, from the birth of Olgra to to when the Skeksis and the Mystics split into two. So the first two volumes, like, they're out at the moment, and at the moment you're just anticipating for the third volume, which is due to be released this year. So that's something I'm very much looking forward to. I know there's been a bit of delay with the third volume because the second volume came out, I think, around 2012, 2013. So it's been a long wait for Dark Crystal fans, but hopefully, it'll be great, and yeah, just very much looking forward to sort of getting the conclusion of the story and how it all sort of ties up to the film.
Speaking of delays and sequels and prequels and such, what do you think about The Power of the Dark Crystal, the sequel?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
ever going to happen? What do you think about the potential plot that we've heard about?
Yeah, it's oh man, that's yeah, it's a very long time in development hell. Unfortunately, with this sequel,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I remembered when I think around 2005, and I was excited for with the Star Wars movie Episode 3. But then, a bit
Yeah.
sad. But I was a bit sad because I'm just like, well, this is it. We're not going to get any more Star Wars movies ever. Like, this is the end of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna, how am I gonna live on? Where I'm gonna go to. And then I think it was that year that they announced that development of the sequel, The Power of the Dark Crystal, was in development. And yeah, I mean, I was like, at the time, I was like so thrilled and excited about the idea of having a being able to see a sequel to The Dark Crystal, to one of my favorite films. And I think there was at one point where it was potentially going to be filmed in Australia, in Sydney, and that sort of got me even more
Oh.
excited about it. So, I mean, it was, but then a couple of years later, and with lots of delays and I think lots of little problems here and there, and then just sort of got on a standstill. So yeah, look, I've been a bit bummed about that there hasn't been a lot going. With the sequel, though. I mean, in my opinion, like there had to be a reason why they launched a website for the Dark Crystal at darkcrystal.com. So I think like
Right.
one of the reasons I think behind the website, in my opinion, is that they're really trying to spread word about it by doing these contests and getting fans involved. But I think as well that the website could potentially be used as a way to try and sell the idea of doing a sequel, whether they partner with the Jim Henson Company, partner up with a studio or something like that. I think the possibilities are definitely there. I do recall from there was a Dark Crystal fan event that happened in New York City sometime last year, which I believe was in October. And it was a big event. It was like Cheryl Henson was there. Some of the crew from the Dark Crystal were there. J.M. Lee, the author, he was there as well. And I recall that Cheryl mentioned briefly about the Power of the Dark Crystal, as well as an animated television series that they had in the works as well. And that the big problem really is just just having the funding, having the money to be able to produce this. So I think that's why it's been taking so long, is just finding the right people to be able to produce and put the money towards making the Dark Crystal happen. Sorry if I dragged on for too long then.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally cool. Look, at least you didn't get we will get so off topic, it won't even be funny. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
It's
At least
good.
you were on topic. I
Yeah,
was gonna
yeah.
segue into something really cool, and I totally forgot what it was. Um, yeah, I ruined that segue. I thought of
You
something and
ruined
everything.
everything.
I ruined it. You say
I've
something,
got a
Julia.
I've got a question. Philip, are you a big Labyrinth fan? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not actually. I think like for me, I was very much introduced to the Dark Crystal at a very early age. To that and Sesame Street. However, with the Muppets, like I sort of got introduced to the Muppets through the films, but not to the Muppet Show, because I mean I was born in '87, so in the '90s. I recall the Muppet Show being on Foxtel, which was like pay TV kind of subscription kind of thing. but couldn't afford to get Foxtel to be able to watch the Muppet Show. So, but I have actually been
Yeah.
revisiting some of the Muppet Show on DVD and some of the Muppet films as well. But like with Labyrinth, I didn't really. I watched Labyrinth for the first time on DVD. Trying to think how long ago, probably at least 10 or so years ago, that I saw Labyrinth for the first time. And, I liked it. Like, I thought it was a really good film, but I think it just didn't really appeal to me. I kind of preferred the idea of, that, having all these creatures in this own fantasy world, that sort of thing. But, but yeah, I mean, I have it on the Blu-ray and I haven't, had a chance to watch it yet. So I think I might have to put the Blu-ray on and sort of rewatch it and see if my opinion, yeah, just sort of revisit it and just sort of if my opinion's still the same as it was back 10 or so years ago or not. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I did with the Dark Crystal, and I literally just finished watching it like an hour ago,
yeah.
and like, because I remember thinking that it was just really slow back in the day,
Mm,
and that I don't know, it just wasn't. It was very pretty, and I liked it, and I think I've said it before, but it was just really slow, and the story wasn't as strong as it could have been, and blah blah blah. I've kind of changed my mind now.
okay.
Like, I think the pace is like fine, and it's the story is actually pretty good, and everything is, if as long as you pay attention to it, which might have been my problem before.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend actually hadn't seen um Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal or any of the Muppet movies except for Muppet Christmas Carol, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So we watched we watched Labyrinth, and I just like watching it with him. I just noticed how fast the pace of that movie was. So
Yeah.
maybe it was because, like, compared to Labyrinth, it does seem kind of slow,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't have goblin dance numbers either. So
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think like with the slow pace of the film, I think like when they worked on the Dark Crystal, it was always the visuals that sort of came first in Jim Henson's mind. Then the story. The story sort of came second, and
yeah,
I'm just trying to recall the story that I recalled that with I think when when I did a like a preview screening for the film in Washington D.C. in 1982, and back then like they had a rough cut of the film, and basically it was sort of a version of the film where the Skeksis they spoke their own language. They didn't speak English at all, and there
right,
was a bit of a there was a bit of negative feedback in regards to from that screening, I believe, because audience was struggling to follow the story, and because that because it just seemed such that the Dark Crystal was like a foreign film, essentially, and yeah, the audiences sort of struggled to understand what was going on, and so from that screening they kind of had to rewrite most of the script, and try and match the words, trying to write dialogue to match with the
right,
movements of the Skeksis, their lips and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
I remember reading in Jim Henson the biography that he kept pushing for the world building and the sets and the design and all that. And when he would get asked about the story or like the dialogue or anything, he would just, we'll figure that out in a little while. But look at all this cool stuff that I've already done,
Yeah, and that's
that
really
kind of
interesting
thing.
because I've read the Dark Crystal book, and I noticed in the book the Skeksis don't speak any English except for when the Chamberlain is talking
yeah,
to Jen and
and Kira, yeah,
wow,
Kira,
I can't,
Kira,
Kira. Yeah, I blanked on her name for a second. So that is something I picked up, and then I went back and watched the movie and saw they spoke in English, and
yeah.
so that now makes a
I
lot more
think, let
yeah,
me
sense.
grab my DVD because I think I have it right here. But I think you can actually there's like another track that you can actually listen to it.
yeah. There is like a
Um,
like a special feature, yeah, with some of those scenes,
yeah,
yeah. But I think it just would have been interesting, how the film would have turned out if you know if they sort of just left it with the Skeksis language, and all that kind of stuff. I think would have been very interesting how well it would have gone, or whether the film would have flopped a lot more at the box
Right.
office. But yeah, and I mean, like, from my understanding, like the Dark Crystal was it was moderately successful at the box office. Like, it definitely made its money back. But I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But with the Labyrinth actually did it flop at the box office. You know, and but
It
yeah,
didn't do well
yeah,
because I remember like that. I actually think Dark Crystal did better.
yeah. That's what I
I want to
thought
say,
too.
but
Yeah,
if somebody on the internet will tell us we're wrong. Um,
Yeah.
but because I remember that like after Labyrinth didn't do so well, that's when Jim went to France and wrote the letters to his kids that Brian would end up reading one of them at his funeral.
yeah.
So I remember reading that story somewhere.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, way to bring the podcast down, Laura. Yeah, so I remember.
Way to
Yeah,
go.
so but like they didn't do as horribly as like by today's standards would be,
Yeah.
but they didn't do as well as like say the Muppet movie or something. They didn't do as
Mm.
well as the company would have hoped,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was such a shock for Jim. Like, just based because I've read the biography as well. That, yeah, it seemed like it was such a big shock for Jim. In regards to the box office for Labyrinth.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was such a downer for him. I
which
think at the time.
I think like for us because we're all around the same age, for us to have you know grown up with both of these movies and that like they came out around the time we were born.
Yeah.
So we're kind of so far removed from the idea that they didn't do well because we love them so much and like all these people that we know the movie and love both movies
Yeah. Of course.
that
Yeah.
it's kind of weird for us to like get our heads around that no they didn't do well. What do you mean? But they're so good.
Yeah. No. Like, when
So I
I.
think that's
Yeah.
always kind of like strange for us to you know to think that oh yeah they didn't do that great
Yeah.
because
And
like
yeah.
everybody I know loves them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like, just through the video sales, it really brought a much bigger audience with Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. For the Jim Henson Company to be able to do things with the property, like doing all the manga books and the graphic novels, and yeah, I mean, like, just for example, that with the Dark Crystal website, it's kind of weird why there isn't a an official Labyrinth website as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. There should be. That would be fun.
Yeah.
They should do, you know what? They should do like a Labyrinth video game. Like you have
What
to
would.
be Sarah and it's like but it's like first person.
Yeah.
So you have to
Okay.
like get through a maze like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love,
The little, like.
yeah,
Just have
I'd
it
love to
like
see
kind of look like
a Dark
Skyrim.
Crystal video game. Just
That would be
exploring the
cool
world of
too.
Dark
Thra, and
Crystal video game would be neat.
See, the Dark Crystal video game, I think that would be like Skyrim where
yeah,
I was
like
just about to
you
say it'd
kind
be
of
more of a interactive, like huge role play game where like there's a whole world you can explore.
yeah,
That would actually be really neat. I would be down for that
yeah.
yeah, it
Like
would be
Labyrinth
awesome.
would
Yeah,
be a little bit more confined as to where you can go.
because you're stuck in a
But
labyrinth.
yeah,
yeah,
but Dark Crystal would definitely be like way more open world and be really cool looking and get to healing the Dark Crystal when you want to. Meanwhile, collect all these plants and figure out what they are.
yeah,
Aw, yeah.
yeah. Because
That would be fun.
yeah, like, I do know that they did do a kind of like a text adventure game for the Dark Crystal in '82. Um,
They did one.
yeah,
They did one for Labyrinth,
they
and
did.
it is.
Okay.
And I've seen. Yeah, I've seen screen captures on Tumblr, and I've reblogged some of them on Muppet Mayhem. But they're like the weirdest things. Like there was one where it's like you're Sarah and you're standing in line for a movie, which they
Mm.
kind of imply that it's Star Wars, I think. And you're standing in line for a movie, and you're like you have to decide like to get popcorn or not. It's so weird. It's like I don't remember this part of the movie. It's so strange.
Yeah,
I want to find it because that's just so weird.
yeah. Um, but
But
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, like, I'm very excited to see what the Jim Henson Company will come up with for this year, or or for the future for the Dark Crystal. Yeah, so we got the third volume of Creation Myths to look forward to. I know that they're trying to bring out. I don't know if you've heard. I think with Funko, the reaction figures. I think they're trying to bring out like a Dark Crystal line of figures for
Ooh,
that.
Oh,
neat.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to do some giveaway with those because I can get those from work if we have them.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
hmm
Yeah. So.
Speaking of
Yeah.
giveaways,
Yeah.
we are doing a giveaway.
Okay.
Um, we are giving away the hardback new release version of Dark Crystal for this podcast.
Awesome.
Um,
Do we
yeah.
have guidelines for how we're doing the giveaway?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I was gonna
Which I
ask you.
probably should have asked you before we started recording.
I totally forgot about it until you mentioned the new release one. I was like, oh yeah, we're giving that one away. We've been planning on giving it away since like September or something, so we should have
Yeah.
like put way more thought into this. I don't know. I was thinking we could do some kind of like, I don't know.
People like
Why is Dark Crystal? Why do you like Dark Crystal? Why I don't know. Something like that. Just a reason why you like Dark Crystal
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's good.
I'm just
It's
trying to
good enough.
think. Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be a good idea to do. Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that.
So,
Yeah.
that,
yeah.
that's
So,
good because it doesn't limit people like in fan art and fan
yeah.
fiction and such who don't have those skills. So yeah, just write us like a reason that you really like the Dark Crystal, and we'll choose our
Yeah.
favorite reason. So be creative, folks.
No. I was just gonna do it at random. Because
Oh,
that
at
way,
random. Oh,
yeah.
that's better.
Yeah, so like it's not like a competition. I don't know. That competition doesn't seem fair. Cause see, like that's what I was thinking. If we do like something like fan art that excludes a lot
Okay.
of people, and I don't want to do that. So contact us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. We'll have the contact information in the description of this podcast on several channels and such.
And how about we announce the winner on our next podcast whenever that is recorded?
Yeah.
Yep, and so I can ship it out and everything. Cause I have them, Julie doesn't.
Yes. And we're not currently in the same state or on the same side of the country.
That's true. So I will do international shipping. It's cool.
Woot.
Yay.
Cool.
Okay, so let's see. What else did we want to? Oh yeah. So Philip, I hear you're doing a behind the scenes kind of documentary like film, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I
Yeah.
was like, what else do we want to talk about? All right.
Yeah. With a documentary. I'm working on this documentary with Jamie Prater, and basically just sort of, I guess, with a bit of background how it came about. When I started the podcast, and probably like a couple episodes in, Jamie he contacted me through Facebook, and he was just interested in just chatting about the Dark Crystal in general, and then and from that he kind of thought about doing a documentary about the Dark Crystal, and at the time I was like, yeah, cool, I'm in, like, I'd be interested to see what happens with it, and so we just chatted back and forth a couple months later, and then he asked me to be directly involved in the production, and I was like, yeah, why not? This is awesome. Like, it's something that I have a passion for with the Dark Crystal, and yeah, like so yeah, basically at the moment, like, it's still in development, and the title is called The Great Conjunction: The Legacy of the Dark Crystal, and right now we're just trying to work on a kind of like a concept teaser trailer, just to sort of spread the word a bit more about the project and sort of what we want, what the documentary might be like, that sort of thing, and we have got quite a few people that worked on the Dark Crystal who are interested in being involved or to participate in the documentary, in some capacity. Yeah, so it's something that we're still in the planning stages, but we're hoping that with just spreading word about the project, and hopefully we'll start like a crowdfunding campaign sometime this year, and yeah, I think it'd be good, and like with the project, I mean, sure, it'd be about the documentary, sort of behind the scenes about the Dark Crystal, mainly from from a crew's point of view, because I've been watching some documentaries, like any in general, but also with the Dark Crystal, and I think the thing that's sort of been lacking is the lack of interviews from the little people that sort of um, made a difference with the Dark Crystal. mainly like with documentaries, it's always the producers, the writers, the directors, and
Yeah.
maybe some of the cast,
It's
which is
never really like the lighting guy or anything like that.
no,
Yeah, definitely.
no, and I guess just because the Dark Crystal is such a visually entertaining film that like if you think with the Dark Crystal, basically these people that created these creatures and props and costumes and all that kind of stuff, like they really went from scratch to create go on to create from nothing to something, well, to even more than something. Um, so I think that's sort of like the exciting aspect with the documentary is being able hopefully have the opportunity to be able to interview some of the crew that worked on the films, and but also not only that, but hopefully interview the fans as well who've sort of kept the Dark Crystal alive all these years later. I mean it could have been something, it could have been just that one film franchise that sort of disappeared and nothing ever happened to that film, but it's sort of the fans have sort of been keeping the franchise alive, if you say the one film franchise alive, to keep it
Yeah.
going, like with all these books and all that kind of stuff. So there's sort of the two kind of aspects, from the fans' point of view, but also the crew's point of view of the Dark Crystal, and that's something that we're hoping to tell for the documentary.
Oh yeah. That sounds awesome. I cannot wait. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty good. I mean, like probably the biggest thing with the like with the crowdfunding, like that's probably when we're gonna need a lot of support um for it, and I think I can probably I can probably announce a few things here and there, but I mean Jamie and I we hopefully plan to probably travel to a couple of countries to be able to film some of these interviews and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like a bulk of the trying to think. You're gonna edit all this stuff out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, basically, yeah. We're hoping to travel, to US and Australia here and possibly the UK. So that we always go back and forth with ideas, and sort of every time we kind of chat about it, our ideas just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and yeah. So, but I mean, it's been good, and like we're we're very precious about the Dark Crystal. We're trying to make this documentary the best that it can be, with care and respect for the film. Yeah, to make it happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, let us know whenever you get something up that we can, put on our blogs and all that, and our Facebook and all that good stuff. Because we
Absolutely.
will
Yeah.
definitely be behind you with that.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
So we got like three different questions about, of course, like sequel and prequel and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
we get a lot of questions as
Yeah,
compared to having like it's weird because I don't know like what it was if we put it on Facebook or whatever because I think it was Facebook because like
Mm.
we've been asking for questions since September and haven't gotten any.
Okay.
yeah, but we got a lot on Facebook,
And
and
then
we got
all
a
of a
lot on the.
sudden we got
We also got a lot on the Tough Pig forums.
oh,
So
awesome, yeah.
yeah.
I haven't even looked
Anyway,
there. I haven't been there in forever. I'm so
you
bad.
should.
Oh.
So Scott from Tough Pigs asked, "What do you think the sequel would be like?" And Ben Sincora from Facebook said, "Do you want to see a sequel made?" And Small Potato of Defiance from Tumblr said, "For years there was talks about a sequel. So dot 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 sequel question mark."
No, we
And we kind
already
of
yeah, we already kind of touched on that.
that's why I figured we'd do it first. Personally, I'm kind of in the camp where I don't think we're gonna see a sequel, probably because I'm a pessimist slash realist. I just feel like there would be. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible that we'll see a sequel, but I also feel like it's been such a long time, and there's been so much like sequel hype over the years.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
see, I think that's the conditioning that the Jim Henson Company has put us
Yeah.
through,
Come in.
where, they say that stuff is going on and ends up not happening, and Philip's talking to somebody right now.
It's okay.
Anyway, but I think I don't know. So I think like we've been trained to be like, well, I guess it's happening, but we're not gonna get our hopes up.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of like the Fraggle Rock movie. I kind of just don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know.
yeah, but if it does, we're totally gonna be
Oh,
about all about it.
yeah, if it gets made, like if there's a script and they start filming and there are photos of the filming, then I will
Yeah.
be on board and I will probably go to the midnight premiere of it.
Now there is said to be a script,
Is there a
and
script?
yes,
Okay.
that's what the last we've heard was like from October that there was a
Oh,
script.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, but
I be-
um,
I believe there was a script.
yeah, there is. Yeah, I think David Odell and I think his wife yeah, because David Odell and his wife Annette Duffy um came up with a script or an idea for the sequel, and I think Craig Pierce he contributed a bit to the script as well. So yeah, I mean there is a script out there. It's just sort of what's happening. I don't know if there's anything happening behind the scenes, whether they're quietly working on some of the designs and stuff, and who knows, like maybe one day they'll just announce it out of nowhere saying, yep, we're at day one shooting, here's a still from the film,
Yeah.
come out
And I
a year or
think
two.
and I
Yeah.
think because there was talk about a Labyrinth sequel too, and I think because, these movies are 30, 25 years old,
Mm.
that um you know they want to get it just right.
Yeah.
They don't want to
Yeah.
go in with something that they don't think will be that the fans will absolutely love. That
Yeah.
they don't want to be a disappointment in any way, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I think most fans, even for Dark Crystal, sort of feel the same way. That I mean, it's just sort of like, we'd love to see a sequel to the Dark Crystal, but at the same time, we don't, because it's like be worried about whether the sequel might taint what
Mhm.
we our memories and our enjoyment from the first film. Because I know like sequels tend to be not as great compared to the original, so I
Yeah.
think like for the sequel to really pull through, like I think it just has to really almost stand on its own. Um,
Mhm.
whether it's like whether it's like we're just seeing brand new characters and sort of like just a whole new adventure in Thra essentially, and
Yeah.
may be able to connect to some elements from the first film. Whether we see Jen and Kira and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think at the moment
And I
everything.
think
Yeah, yeah,
I
go on.
think that the Dark Crystal world lends itself a lot better to a sequel than like the Labyrinth world, because I remember reading the Return to Labyrinth manga, and
Yes.
just a lot of the like the new stuff felt really strange, and like really it didn't really blend into the rest of the world all that much. But I think the Labyrinth, I mean, with the Dark Crystal, it would be way easier to do that. And I cuz I was going to say that I don't know about you, but me and Julia are super huge Tolkien fans,
Mm.
and the Labyrinth, or the I keep saying Labyrinth, the Dark Crystal world kind of reminds me of, just with that high fantasy complete world building thing where you have all this mythology and you have all this, you know, history and everything about that world, where you can add new characters and you can add, just little kind of one-off stories, and that in a lot of ways Jen was a lot like Frodo with his journey and everything that he had to do. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
there's yeah,
Okay, and we talk
yeah,
about comparing the two or
yeah,
anything, but
yeah. I mean,
but
there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of comparisons. Yeah, between the Dark Crystal, and Lord of the Rings, and I think I think probably the big difference is I believe Brian Froud and Alan Lee, who did a lot of the conceptual work for Lord of the Rings. I think they both lived in the same area
hmm, yeah,
in Devon, I believe. Um,
yeah, it's Devin.
yeah, so I think that's where the comparisons are sort of uh, in regards to the style, the art style of those
Hmm.
two uh, yeah, franchises, I guess you could say, of these two franchises. But I think like there's also a lot of comparisons to another film, Star Wars: Return of the Jedi, and like if you watch the scene when Jen is going, seeing his master, who's
Yeah.
about to pass away, and that is very similar to what happens when Luke goes to Dagobah and visits Yoda for the last time, and Yoda's dying of old age, and um,
That's so funny because I was literally thinking the same thing watching that scene. I was like, wow, this is like so Yoda and Luke. It's so cool.
yeah, and,
That's funny.
yeah, and what was weird is because like the Dark Crystal came out in '82 and Return of the Jedi was '83, so yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I just think
Yeah.
behind the scenes like who shot first, whether it's
Right?
Dark Crystal
Yeah.
or Return of the Jedi, but I mean, I think I'm very certain it was Dark Crystal because I guess the interesting kind of behind the scenes stuff is I mean, we of course know that Frank Oz, who puppeteered Yoda, co-directed the Dark Crystal with Jim Henson,
Mhm.
but also some of the crew who worked on Yoda, Wendy Froud, uh, she worked on Yoda, and some other people, some of the other team as well. And so you had some of the crew from Star Wars that went on to Dark Crystal. Another one would be Gary Kurtz, who produced Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah.
He left Empire after Empire. He didn't do Jedi. He went to the Dark Crystal, and and I guess the other thing was, from the Dark Crystal, a lot of the crew, the puppeteering crew, worked on Return of the Jedi, with the Jabba the Hutt scenes, and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting, how it went from the crew on Empire worked on the Dark Crystal, and then from the Dark Crystal, a lot of the crew, old and new, worked on Return of the Jedi.
I didn't. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's so weird that I was thinking that Jen's journey is a lot like Luke Skywalker's, that kind of reluctant,
Yeah, the hero's
lonely hero
journey.
kind of
Yeah,
thing. But what? Unlike Frodo and Luke, Jen gets the one pal, and that's kind of all the help that he gets.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
and
well, but to be fair, you know, Luke had like Leia and Han and Chewie and Lando, and Frodo had like all those dudes in the Fellowship, which
mm,
Kira helps him out being the only girl.
yeah,
So what does that tell you? Just
yeah.
one girl to do nine other people's work,
Yeah, I mean, like,
right?
Yeah.
yeah, there has been a lot of talk. There is a Dark Crystal fan group, and I remember there was some discussion about, is Kira really the hero of the story? Should have been the journey of Kira instead of the journey of Jen? Because I mean, in the film, like, yeah, Jen's
Oh
very
yeah.
like Jen. I mean, in the film, like, Jen most of the time just doesn't have any idea what to do. And he gets told, from his master, but even what the master was saying just didn't click with Jen. So he was really on his
Yeah, I
own.
think I
Yeah.
think maybe that was so that, for the audience, that we don't know what's going on. We have no idea what's going on in this new fantasy world, so that the fact that Jen doesn't know what the heck he's doing,
Mm,
kind of helps us along, while Kira, she's in tune with the earth. She knows, all this stuff that we don't know. So I think going from Jen's perspective is supposed to help with the audience.
yeah.
But man, I would have liked to see more of like Kira doing stuff because yeah, she was the
Yeah.
hero of the film,
I
honestly.
mean,
They both
I've
were,
got
but
I've gone I've gone on record saying this, and I'm sure Philip might not quite agree, but like I find Jen to be like the most boring character in the entire film. He's just, I
aw.
mean, he carries the
I
story,
don't
but he's
like
just very
this.
in my
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was
he's
just
just very flat in my opinion. I like
He's
Kira a lot. I would have actually liked it if it had been her in the end to heal the Dark Crystal. That's just
yeah.
my personal opinion.
Well, she
The
made the sacrifice so that he could
yeah,
do it. You know,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
typical female sidekick thing.
Mm.
pretty much.
But
I did like Jen more when I read the book because it
yeah.
did delve deeper into his character and his personality. So there is that.
You
It's
know,
probably just
here's
Yeah.
didn't
something
transition
else.
well to the
Here's
film.
something else that I didn't even notice, and I've seen this film, I don't know, like a handful of times, but I was actually listened to the commentary by Brian Froud first before rewatching it.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
the first time we see Jen, that kid is buck ass nude. Like I didn't even notice that at
Yeah.
all. The
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know
you
I
didn't know
Plain as
that?
fruit.
no I didn't real I never realized that. I have no idea why.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know if it was like when I was watching it on a crappy TV and I just couldn't see. But you know he's got abs and stuff, so that's pretty good. But
Yeah,
still, it's kind of weird.
yeah.
Like,
I guess
well,
it's just
that's
to
nice
show
to know
off.
that
Yeah, I think it was
that
just.
attention to
Yeah,
detail was put into that puppet. But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, yeah. I think it was just, I guess, to showcase like, I guess the innocence,
yeah,
of a
yeah,
Gelfling before he's about to take on this journey that would, change his life. I mean, he didn't see it coming or anything. So,
right.
but I like,
I mean,
yeah,
there's a part in the Lord of the Rings books where all the hobbits go frolic off naked because that weird ass Tom Bombadil character. But you know,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be. It's yeah. I just thought that was kind of strange that I'd never even noticed that. So I'm sure like everybody else has. It's
yeah,
whatever. But
yeah, and also
I just thought that was funny.
the creepy scene, with Trial by Stone and the Chamberlain
Oh
loses.
yeah, where they
By the
strip
law,
Chamberlain.
you
That's so
must
odd.
pay. Ah! Yeah, getting his clothes
So they
ripped
just
Okay.
off.
rip off all his clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know.
we got to keep moving because we've got a lot of questions and
Okay.
we've been going for almost an hour. Matthew from Tough Pigs, one of the many Matthews. Did not catch which one's last name, so one of like the five Matthews asked,
They'll
"How do you
know.
think?" They'll know. How do you think The Dark Crystal compares to the other high fantasy films of the 1980s, like The Neverending Story, Conan the Barbarian, and Willow? Um, Neverending Story is terrifying. I rewatched that recently,
It
and
really
also
is
really
though.
depressing.
Yeah.
I think it holds up to Willow, I would say. It's got a lot of similar qualities, like
Mhm.
with the world and such, and I've never seen Conan.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I mean,
My brother has, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, I must admit, I've actually never seen the Never Ending Story, um,
aw.
or Conan the Barbarian. um, I know people be yelling at me like, "What? You like the Dark Crystal? And you haven't seen these other films?" Like, I have definitely heard
Yeah.
of them and that, but I just haven't got around to
But
actually. Yeah,
you have seen Willow.
I have seen Willie. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and that was
Okay.
and that was
You're
a
off the
good
hook.
film.
That's
Like,
fine.
I think, yeah, again, like that film, is it's almost a bit like Dark Crystal, that simple storytelling,
Yeah.
with Willow. Yeah, yeah, and I actually enjoy that film. It's a
Um,
good fun film.
Mhm. Actually,
yeah,
I recently got that on Blu-ray.
it's
Yeah,
a good one.
me too. Yeah,
Oh,
Megan
I
from
thought Trevor Jones did the music for Willow, but I guess he didn't. But he did for Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and Lady Hawk,
yeah. I
which
think
I
there was another
remember.
one. Excalibur was another film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Excalibur. And
yeah,
it was like, if you were doing it kind of seems like if you were doing fantasy in the 80s, so that you go to Trevor Jones because he has like that weird
yeah.
like it is really fantasy like, it makes me think of fantasy stuff, but I don't know if that's because of these movies or
Mm.
just the music itself, but it is so 80s.
Oh yeah,
It is
definitely.
so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
80s.
But I
But I
mean, but
love it. I love
yeah.
how 80s it is.
Yeah, I mean his scores are so epic, especially with the Dark Crystal, and like there was a lot of music that he did for the Dark Crystal that
Time
he
Bandits.
had
He
to,
also did
yeah,
Time
Time
Bandits.
Bandits, yeah, yeah, and yeah, there was a lot of
Well,
music
the
that he,
Dungeon of Horror.
yeah, and there was a lot of music that he did on the Dark Crystal, and but there was some stuff that he had to kind of redo again because of after the I think the preview screening, they changed up the music a little bit here and there. I might be wrong
Oh
on that,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, because like I was listening to the
No, I
soundtrack
think you're right.
and yeah, and like there's like different music pieces that sort of could go with the start of this scene, but ended up being some other music, um, which I think is would be a common thing with composers. I think the same thing happened with John Williams with the soundtrack with the Empire Strikes Back, and even like probably New Hope and Return of the Jedi, that there was quite a bit of music that got cut out of the cutting room floor essentially, but that they're still presented in their soundtrack form, for us fans to dive in and digest and and just enjoy listening to the
Yeah.
scores. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Don't
So,
worry, Julia. This podcast can be as long as we want it to be. We
well,
got
it's
three
true, except
people.
I have to leave in 10 minutes. That's why I'm
Okay,
trying to
well,
wrap
never
it up.
mind.
Um, both
You
Megan
should have
off of
told me
Tough
that beforehand.
Yeah. Megan off of Tough Pigs and Anthony Tompkins on Facebook pretty much asked us labyrinth questions, which we already covered
Kind of
for the
covered.
most
Okay.
part. Sorry, normally I would read them out of respect, but we're now in a hurry.
We mentioned the
Um,
names, and that's fine.
Nikki Blogs on Tumblr asked, "Do you think Jen could have healed the Dark Crystal alone?"
I
No.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's sort of like I mean, the prophecy is what was sundered and undone shall be whole, to two made one, by Gelfling hand or else by none. Um, s
Aw.
like,
That's so cute that you know that.
um, I don't know, just
Aw.
I guess like from that prophecy, yeah, it was Gelfling hand by one hand, but the idea that they both needed each other to fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah.
Right.
The prophecy didn't say anything about when they're on the Landstrider, and Jen was saying, oh, the prophecy didn't mention about this, and she says, prophets don't know everything. Um,
Right. I like that line. That was cute.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just think it's sort of like Jen is like alpha to Kira's omega, the yin yang, and they sort of combine together to be able to fulfill the quest. Um,
Also,
yeah,
if like, could Jen have done it alone? No, because he threw the shard after the pod people got, her village got destroyed. So he
yeah,
just threw the shard away, and Kira picked it up. So
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
if
yeah. Like
Kira
he
didn't pick
almost,
it up, that
yeah, like
y'all'd have
he
been
was pretty much about
screwed.
to give up. And even like the morning after when they go visit the Gelfling's village, he just walks past the shard, and Jen picks it up. So
Yeah.
this is the shard. Um,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting to think that, but yeah, I definitely believe that they both needed each other to fulfill the quest. I mean, but I
Yeah.
mean with Jen, like he had the information essentially. Kira, was able to. She knew about the world, the outside world, everything. For Jen, that wasn't the case
Yeah.
because he was raised by mystics, and I don't think he ever, set foot outside the Valley of the Mystics. So, um, yeah. So, but I think at the end of the day, they both needed each other to fulfill the quest essentially. But I mean, I can just imagine, just 1,000 years, of this Skeksis and mystics, and just how horrible it would have been. I guess the dark times, which I just sort of think about, sort of compare a little bit to Star Wars, like the dark times between episodes 3 and 4. Which is like a 20-year span, but like in the Dark Crystal, it's like 1,000 years. It's like, whoa, yeah.
So Ryan Rowe on Tough Pigs asked, "How old were each of you when you first saw the movie? Do you like it more or less or the same than the first time you saw it now?" I saw bits of it when I was a kid, but it scared me too much, so I never finished it. And then I re-saw it for the whole thing for the first time when I was 20, and I like it much better than I did now
Mm.
than when
Yeah.
I first watched it. I
I
thought it was very slow and boring.
Yeah. I was probably 12 or 13 when I saw it for the first time, because me and my best friend were like, we were doing our the church, something for the church,
Mm.
and it was like or like little kids come in and stuff like that, and we had the kindergarten class. No kid showed up. So our pastor rolls in this video. He says, "Hey, have you guys seen The Dark Crystal? No? Here, watch it." So we watched it in church
Wow.
one night, and I just remember like for some reason the only thing that we kind of took from that, and then like me and my brother watched it a little bit later, where just like we would just do Chamberlain's, like
Yeah.
all I don't know why that amused us so much. So like we would
Yeah.
Yeah.
just do that for like weeks, and then I guess I don't remember the last time I watched it, or
Yeah.
the first time I watched it like older to like actually see it again.
Yeah.
But having watched it, 2 hours ago, um, yeah, I like it a lot better now that I actually like pay attention to it and kind of appreciate it for what it is and all the hard work that went into it and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate it more. I like it better as well.
Yeah. I think I first saw the film definitely when I was at least 5 or 6 years old. Um, and it was recorded on off the TV, with the VHS, the and all that. So that was sort of my first exposure to it. I think like probably my mom or dad, or I think my mom who record the movie, like she wasn't aware just like how sort of dark the film really was. I think she just thought, oh, it's just like a Muppet film kind of thing. Um,
Right.
which I guess that was the case when a lot of people were seeing the film for the first time. A lot of people were thinking that this was going to be like a Muppet film, but that wasn't the case.
Hmm.
But I mean, for me, like, yeah, no, like I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's sort of, I think as a kid watching the film, it's sort of like a kind of like a film that sort of gave that I get so many emotions coming out of the film. Like it was almost like a roller coaster film. Like you feel sad because of what's going on. The 1,000 years, and you're terrified of the Skeksis and the Gotham. And then you're happy, because you see
Hmm.
the Gelfling and the Mystics, how nice they are, and all that kind of stuff. Or you laugh when you see Fizzgig just like barking his head off, all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So that's sort of what I got out of from the film, and then sort of a couple of years after that, because I'd always watch films hundreds of times. I think because I think like out of the films I watched a lot as a kid, I think The Dark Crystal and Return of the Jedi, they were the films that sort of I'd always kind of watch them back to back every now and then, but but then it sort of like went in the back of my mind for a long time, and I think it wasn't really till I mean, it was on my mind during when the Dark Crystal was in the sequel, the Power of the Dark Crystal was in development, but then that sort of disappeared. Then my mind went off as well, with the Dark Crystal, and then I guess with the launch of the website, I sort of thought, oh, I might actually look into and see if there was any books or anything written for the Dark
Oh yeah.
Crystal, and like I picked up the Legends of the Dark Crystal and Creation Myths, and just recently picked up the making of the Dark Crystal, and all that kind of stuff, and but I think the big thing that sort of really got me more back into it was I went to an antique store, just this huge kind of packing house, and they have a big section that's just dedicated to movies, mainly movie posters and all that kind of stuff. And I enter the entrance, to that section, and then I see this big, the Dark Crystal Amsel original print, and I'm just like, I've
Aw.
got to get this. This is too awesome, not to have. So yeah, I bought and got it all framed up and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, and
Yeah.
I think from that, and that was in 2010 when I got that poster. So I think it was from that that sort of really got back into it, and wanting to know more about the film, and so revisiting the film, it's given me like an even deeper appreciation for the work that Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Brian Froud, and even some of the crew, like Toby and Tim and Mike Quinn, who were a big part of making the film happen.
Hmm.
And so I guess to answer the question, I think I still feel the same way, because even when I'm watching again, I can just turn off my mind and just think that 5 or 8 year old kid, just watching it, just being amazed by the amount of details that was in the film with the world of Thra.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's interesting that, me and Julia were kind of on the fence about it and we watched it again and we like it more,
Yeah,
but you come into this like with this podcast and making of, your documentary and stuff so I
Yeah.
thought that was like really important that I really wanted you on this so that, we can have like that kind of different perspective that you were way deeper into this than we were.
yeah,
So I think
Yeah,
that was a
really.
good idea.
Yeah. And
yeah.
unfortunately, I've really got to go. Do
Okay,
you
yeah.
guys want to like wrap it up or
Sure.
Um,
Yeah,
okay.
we're kind of I think it's kind of winding down anyhow.
yeah.
But yeah, so we can go ahead and wrap it up so we're not holding you up anymore, Julia.
Yeah. Well, it was really great to have you on, Philip. Thanks so much for sharing like all your
You're
extensive knowledge on the Dark Crystal,
Thank you very much. Yeah,
yeah.
and we look forward to hearing all about your documentary and such.
yeah. No
Yeah, we'll
worries.
definitely have you on again sometime in the future. Hopefully when you've got there's more ground
Of
on your
course. Yep.
documentary and everything.
Yeah, of course.
So
And
yeah, so check out his
oh, sorry. Yeah, I was about to do the plug, but you can start by how can you?
No, you can go ahead and do the plug.
Okay, sorry.
Julie can go ahead and go.
um.
Okay, I'm gonna take off.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye, Julia.
All right. See you, Julie.
All
Thanks.
right, go ahead and do your plugs.
All right. Yeah. So people can find out about the podcast Trial by Stone at facebook.com/Trial by Stone podcast. We're also on Twitter at Trial by Stone Pod, and with the documentary, we're on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/Dark Crystal Doc. So that's Dark Crystal DOC, and same goes with the Twitter at Dark Crystal Doc. So that's where you can find out all about the everything to do with the Dark Crystal, what's going on with the podcast, and also the documentary that I'm working on with Jamie. And yeah, I mean, I'm just as excited to have more details about those things in the near future. With Trial by Stone, you can find us on iTunes. Just do a search for Trial by Stone, and you should be able to track us down. And yeah, I mean, and basically we do a month. Our podcast is once a month. So and every month we chat with fans and also the team behind the Dark Crystal. And yeah, and definitely got other ideas down the pipe that I'd like to definitely look into for the show.
That was fine. You did
Yeah.
okay. So we'll have all
Cool.
those links and everything in the description of our various formats and on Tumblr and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, so can't really put description things and it's kind of hard to do that on iTunes, but we'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
yeah.
We'll put it on Tumblr. We'll link you all up. It'll be good.
Cool.
So thank you
Greatly
so much for
appreciated.
doing this with us, especially on such short notice.
That's all right. Yeah,
Thanks
no
for
worries.
contacting me to do it.
Yeah, and I'm free to chat anytime.
Awesome. So
Cool.
that's going to be
Very
it
cool.
for today's Frog Kissin podcast, the Dark Crystal edition. Yay! We'll put up some more stuff about the giveaway and all that on Tumblr, which we'll link onto Twitter, and you'll be able to find out more about that and how you can enter the giveaway. And don't be worried if you live in Japan or some such, because that's fine. That's why it's a giveaway, and I will do it international shipping and all that good stuff. Thanks, everybody. Bye!
And that's the secret of frog kissing. And you can do it too if you just listen. Just slow down, turn around, bend down and kiss you a frog.